project is the Battle of the Bulge, a triumph unto tragedy.
All right, cadets, take your seats. I'll be your military instructor for this evening. Today, we will be discussing the Battle of the Bulge, or those of you who did your assigned reading will know it as the Ardennes Offensive. Now, in December of 1940, the Allied powers had liberated most of France, Belgium, and Luxembourg. They pushed the Germans back to a series of defenses they called the Western Wall. Behind this wall was native German soil, and they were not about to give it up easy. Towards the Eastern Front, the Soviets had entered native Germany and began their brutal campaign of retaliation against the German people. Hitler knew that if he was to stop the Soviets, he must first knock out the Western Allies. To do this, he concocted a plan to cut through the Ardennes, encircle the Allied armies, and recapture the crucial supply port of Antwerp. The Allies, for their part, were completely unprepared. It would be up to small, undermanned, and undersupplied units to hold the line against the Germans and give Allied command enough time to form a counterattack. Today, in our lecture, we will be discussing three characters. A young lieutenant on the northern shoulder of the attack, and then we will shift our focus to the besieged city of Bastogne. This was the story of heroic triumph and tragic sacrifice. For us, in our story today, our story begins on the frozen plains of Belgium. God, it's cold. I don't know where the Germans are taking us, but I just hope it's somewhere warm. My name is Lieutenant Lyle Brock, 394th Infantry, 99th Division. I was in command of a small recon platoon of 15 men outside the city of Lazarus, Belgium, when, on December 16th, 1944, 500 German paratroopers came down the road towards us. To make matters worse, our tank support up and left us, leaving us totally alone and outnumbered 33-1. I asked command to withdraw, but they told me to stay. So I ordered my men to dig inside of a hill and we waited. Fighting was brutal, I'll never forget it. Towards the end, we were outflanked and out of ammunition. I ordered the surrender when a German jumped into my foxhole and shot me in the leg. Despite doing all I could, when it was all said and done, we inflicted 93 casualties upon the Germans and held them there for 18 hours despite the odds, delaying the advance the entire 6th Panzer Army and buying the rest of the 99th Infantry crucial time. I just hope it was enough. God help them. Despite doing all I could, I'll never forgive myself for surrendering. I joined the Army at 14 and became an officer at 20, being one of the youngest in the Army, and on my first mission I get all of my men captured. I'll have to live with that for the rest of my life. Regardless though, this may sound superstitious, but when I was little I had an aunt out in Louisiana. She read my palm once when I was little, and she said, "Lyle, if you live past the age of 21, you'll live a long and happy life." And well, yesterday was my birthday, and I made it. Anyways, it was nice talking to you all. God bless you. My name is Heinrich von Lutwitz, commander of the 47th Panzer Corps, and I am a proud German. I can trace my family lineage back to the 14th century. I come from a long line of soldiers. Myself, this is not my First World War. In the First World War, I enlisted as a private in 1914, and now in 1944, during the Second, I lead a German army. The Führer's plan is simple. We shall do as we've done in countless wars. We shall cut through the Ardennes, encircle the Allies, and win the war. My men are part of the southern flank as they attack. We have surrounded a small, insignificant paratrooper division in the city of Bastogne. They cannot hold up for much longer. To stop the fighting, I drafted this letter to be given to the Allied commander in the city. Make sure it gets to him and tell him it is the only way to save his men. My name is General McCall, commander of the 101st Airborne in Bastogne. I believe you have a letter for me? Well, nuts. The Germans are asking us to surrender. Well, to tell the truth, when I first read this letter, I assumed the Germans are asking to surrender to us. The Germans must think us crazy and cowards if they think we're going to surrender at this crucial moment. If the Germans get a hold of Bastogne, they'll have access to our entire southern flank. If the Germans reach the Meuse River, this war is over. I guess my first remark caught it very well, didn't it? Nuts. Let that be my reply. Nuts. And you give that to the German commander. Make sure he gets it, and you tell him that if he asks for clarification, you can tell him that we will kill every German that enters this city. Now, Christmas is coming up. My staff and I have drafted this letter to be given to the brave men who accomplished them on the heroic feat. I'd like to read part of it to you this evening. To the 101st Airborne, Merry Christmas. What is merry about all this, you may ask? It is cold, we are fighting. All true. But what has the proud Eagle Division and his worthy comrades, the 10th Armored, 705th Tank Destroyer Battalion, and all the rest accomplished? Just this. We have stopped cold everything to the north, south, east, and west of us. How the Germans were heading to key points when the proud Eagle Division was sent in to stop them. How effectively this was done will go down in history. Not alone in our division's glorious history, but in world history. Allied troops are counterattacking in force. We will continue to hold Bastogne. By holding Bastogne, we assure the success of the Allied armies. We are giving our country and our loved ones a worthy Christmas present, being privileged to take part in this gallant feat of arms and truly making for ourselves Merry Christmas. Signed, McAlfee, Commander. The 101st Airborne would hold Bastogne for 7 days before being relieved from Patton's Third Army. It was thanks to heroic efforts like the 101st, Lieutenant Lyle Brock, and countless others that the Germans were eventually stalled and rolled back. When the Germans retreated back across the line on January 25th, 1945, they were so depleted of both men, materials, and resources, they could not stop the Allies from liberating Denmark, Norway, Austria, and most of Western Germany, saving millions of people from both fascist occupation and saving them from the brutal Soviet onslaught. However, this triumph would come with a great cost. Thousands of soldiers would die in one of the worst winters in European history. Many would die, frozen and alone, thousands of miles away from their loved ones. Some would be lost in the snow, and their bodies only recovered in the spring. When the battle ended on January 25th, 1945, over 10,000 American soldiers would lay dead, and alongside them another 12,000 Germans. It was one of the largest battles in the Second World War. It was the defining moment of a nation, and it was the death throes of an empire. Today, it is important we remember their stories, for forgetting the sacrifices of our ancestors would be the greatest tragedy of all. That'll be all for today's lecture. Cadets, dismissed.